Alright guys, so full disclosure, I'm going to be filming this portion of the video without having seen the result from the Chelsea and Spurs fixture. I'm currently sitting at an overall rank of 220k after taking a -12 and all of the players that I brought in have blanked. I am cautiously optimistic that I can get a green arrow from here. It's a 9-point red arrow so far because of what the Newcastle lads have done. Consistently returning Isak and Gordon. God, so obvious. Maybe I should have gone for them instead of going for Maddison and Jackson, but hindsight's 2020, isn't it? And the reason I did go for Maddison and Jackson is because of the extra fixture. So there's no point judging the end result without having seen what it's actually going to be. So I just wanted to let you know that this is the current position that I'm in, and my overall goal for the season is to finish in the top 100k. And I don't think my transfer plans are going to be impacted at all by anything that happens in the Chelsea and Spurs fixture, but just understand that my risk tolerance will be, because I'm currently sitting at the top 220k. If I'm going to be sitting in the top 150k or higher after the Chelsea and Spurs fixture, then I'll just look to be safe and captain the template option, which is going to be Haaland this week, Haaland in the double, and then Haaland at the end of the season as he chases the golden boot, and ManCity are in the driving seat to win the title. I think it's just going to be obvious to just captain Haaland every single week. However, if I'm going to be sitting at 200k or below, then I will look to captain some differentials from now until the end of the season. Welcome to the lab. This is where we're going to be going through my game week 36 transfer plans, as well as my transfer plans from now until the end of the season. I kind of have my moves planned out. I'm just hoping that there aren't any injuries that throw off my plans. But in general, I can be 100% transparent because the players that are in my mini league, they are either below me in the league or they've already used their wild card. So I don't have to worry about them understanding what my plans are, because they won't be able to move to the players that I'm moving to because they'll have their own fires to put out in their own teams. So I can be completely transparent because I don't have to worry about my mini league, and I'm kind of just excited to share what I am thinking, because I'm hoping that my thought process will help you with the decisions that you have to make, so you can understand the way that I make my decisions and you'll be able to make better decisions on your own as well. So let's first start off with the front 8 attackers and wondering if I'm going to be looking to make a transfer on any of them from now until the end of the season. If I'm looking specifically at my midfield, I have Son, Palmer, and Foden. 2 of them are on penalties for their team. Foden is a differential from ManCity, whose EO will probably be really high from now until the end of the season, because in my opinion, I think he's been Manchester City's best player. I know that sounds a little bit controversial, but that's my personal opinion, and I just feel like owning him in FPL is a no-brainer, given the fact that Man City are in the driving seat. I know last game week he was away with an illness, but I don't think it's going to be something that will last long, but that is something to monitor. But in general, Foden, Son, and Palmer are locks from my team from now to the end of the season, and the only 2 spots that I could spend transfers on would be James Maddison and Bukayo Saka. Now, Maddison for me is a hold. I know that I brought him in this week, and I'm not sure how it paid off or if it did this week or not, but I know why I did it. He had a double this week. He's nailed for minutes, probably gets 60 minutes in every single game from now until the end of the season. His form isn't that great, but Maddison does have something to play for. Unlike a lot of other players in the FPL game, I feel like Maddison is playing for a spot on the England squad for the Euros. Now, he's going to be competing against the likes of Cole Palmer and Jared Bowen, who have had better form this season. But at the beginning of the season, Maddison was one of the most informed players in the league. And I feel like if Maddison has a very strong run from now until the end of the season, he will force his way onto the England squad. So I feel like I want to be backing James Maddison, especially given the fact that he has a double-double. He had a double this week, as well as a double in 37 and Sheffield United in game week 38. So happy to own Maddison, and I'm expecting a lot of people to spend a midfield transfer on probably Richarlison. I think he's going to be one of the best differentials. He's going to be the number 9 for Spurs, and I'm just thinking that I'm going to be covering up that effective ownership. In fact, I think if Richarlison and Maddison get the same amount of minutes, I think Richarlison is a better FPL pick. I know that sounds a little bit controversial because in general, Maddison is probably a better player than Richarlison, but from an FPL perspective, Richarlison is just more involved in the goals and assists. It's just that simple, being the striker versus being the center attacking mid, especially if they're both mids in FPL. So I think if I had a transfer to redo it, I don't even think I would redo this, just because I wanted to have the nailed minutes. I think with Richarlison, there is injury risk and there is rotation risk. So I'm happy to just own Maddison, but I want to mention that if you are looking to bring it in a Spurs mid, I would prioritize Richarlison over Maddison. That's kind of where I am. I think the only midfielder that I would look to spend a transfer on would be Bukayo Saka. Now, if we look at his fixtures from now until the end of the season, it's really interesting because he has Bournemouth at home, as well as Manchester United away and Everton at home. I'm expecting one return in Bournemouth, as well as one return in Everton. I remember how Saka did at the end of the season last year where they were playing against Wolves and it was a 5-0 win. And a lot of people went to Odegaard as their transfer on the final day of the season because they didn't have the money to get to Saka. And I think a lot of people regretted it because Odegaard blanked and Saka ended up getting a goal. I remember, granted, Saka got a lot of returns in that game, but that's really besides the point. I just feel like I trust Saka to get a return in the Bournemouth fixture and the Everton fixture. So it really just comes down to the Manchester United away fixture. I know it's Manchester United, it's at Old Trafford, but really, Man U are not a very good defense. They're probably in the bottom half in terms of shots conceded as well as XG conceded over the course of the season. In fact, over the last 6 weeks, they're in the bottom 5 for shots and XG conceded. So in my opinion, Manchester United are not a good defense. I would expect Saka to get something in this fixture. I mean, Liverpool went out to Old Trafford and put up 4 XG. Like legit 4 XG. So I'm expecting Arsenal to put up 3 XG. And if that's the case, then Saka will get at least 1 return. So if I'm thinking about Saka's returns from now until the end of the season, I'm expecting 3 returns. So are there any midfielders that I'm expecting more than 3 returns from? And there are only 2 names that I think I should consider. And keep in mind that this would be for a hit. And I think the first person to consider is going to be Bruno Fernandes, who has Crystal Palace away in 36, Brighton away in 38, and then the double game week in 37. Now, I've owned Bruno Fernandes over the past 3 seasons, and every single time I've owned him in a double, he's gotten me at least 9 points because he usually just gets 1 return, and then he gets the bonus, and then he gets the appearance points in the second game. That's genuinely what happens every single time, like clockwork. So I'm expecting 10 points from Bruno in the double. The question is, what will he do in the Palace game and the Brighton game, both away from home? Bruno is a very interesting player from an FPL perspective because he is on the penalties, but I just don't trust Manchester United at all. So in my opinion, I think maybe Bruno outscores him in 37, but it wouldn't surprise me if Saka outscored Bruno in game week 36 or even game week 38. In fact, if I owned Bruno, I think I'd be looking to sell Bruno to Saka in game week 38. That's how much I really back Saka to outscore Bruno. I know Bruno's on the pens and it wouldn't be a priority move, but if you had the luxury transfer to spend, upgrading Bruno to Saka on the final day of the season is just a lock, especially if Arsenal go out there and win in game week 36 and game week 37 with a title to fight for in game week 38. I just think it's a no-brainer to make that move. So in my opinion, I don't think I want to be downgrading Saka to Bruno. I'm not even sure Bruno will outscore him. And I know Bruno put up 4 points this game week. He put up around 1.1 XGI and picked up 0 returns, but he got the 2 bonus for 4 points. And I know he can continuously just do that, but it just goes to show you how poor of a team Manchester United are and how much of a talisman Bruno is. I know that if he gets a return, he'll get the bonus, but I just don't think I can stomach bringing him in. I think it does feel like a downgrade to me, so I'm not going to be making that move. But the one player that I am very tempted to go for is Kevin De Bruyne. Oh, Kevin De Bruyne. Okay, let me try to predict his returns because he's the only one that I'm really worried about. I think against Wolves at home, he'll get 1 return for sure. West Ham at home on the final day of the season, he'll get 1 return for sure. It just comes down to what he gets in this Fulham and Spurs fixture. We saw what Arsenal just did against Spurs, and I'm expecting Manchester City to do something similar, but City find a way to really just drop points in the Spurs fixture. Now, I think this is the type of game where there's going to be a lot of space in behind, and it wouldn't surprise me to see KDB pick up with at least 1 assist in this fixture. And in the Fulham game, I think this is another fixture where, Fulham have been really strong at home, but I'm just thinking that if Liverpool can go out there and pick up a result against Fulham, I'd expect Man City to at least do the same. But I'm not sure if I really want to take the -4 to bring KDB in. I don't think KDB is a lock to outscore Saka because of the injury risk and the rotation risk. So because of that, I think I'll just be avoiding. If KDB was like 28 years old rather than being in his 30s, I think this is definitely a transfer I would make for a hit. But I'm not sure I want to be taking on additional risk and spending an additional transfer if I don't need to. And I just trust Bukayo Saka that much. And if he can pick up 13 points versus Spurs, I think Man U are just as poor defensively. So for me, I'm just going to be holding on to Bukayo Saka and I'm going to be praying that as a differential, he'll be able to match KDB for a -4. And I think owning Saka in 38 instead of KDB is probably a better move because he's going to be on the penalties while KDB is not. So I'm excited to own Saka, and I don't think there's a midfielder I will spend a transfer on for a -4 to sell him. Moving on to the strikers in my FPL team, I do have Nico Jackson and Erling Haaland, who are locks in my team. They have the double in Game Week 37, as well as having good fixtures in Game Week 36 and 38. So I'm going to be holding on to them and playing them in every fixture from now until the end. My third striker that I have is Hakuna Mateta. He just put up a massive score of 29 points in the double game week a few weeks ago, and I don't want to forget that. And he has a very good fixture against Manchester United at home. Now, I'm expecting Palace to score 2 goals at home. They've been in very good form recently. The only issue with Mateta is that there is an injury doubt over Eberechi Eze, and if Eze is a doubt, then selling Mateta is a no-brainer move because I think the upside of the Palace attack is lower whenever Eze and Elise are both not fit, because that'll impact the amount of chances that are created for Mateta. However, if they're both fit, then there's a chance I could hold on to Mateta as a differential. I think it does make sense to sell Mateta in Game Week 37 because he has a single and there are double Game Week strikers in 37 that will probably outscore him even for a -4. I think it'll probably be worth the risk, and I think there are 2 strikers that I am considering, the first of them being Rasmus Højlund. The problem with Højlund is that he's not on the penalties, and I look at the fixtures and they're kind of a mixed bag. I'm not sure I really want to bring Højlund in because the man is starving of service. Like, he's starving. Man, you just don't create enough chances for their striker. Their midfielders are so greedy. They're always looking to shoot themselves. You got Bruno shooting from everywhere, including outside the box. Garnacho loves to cut in and shoot himself. I think those would be the 2 FPL picks that I would trust, and to me, Højlund is just a step too far. The only striker that I would really consider to sell Mateta in for a -4, it's kind of a no-brainer, and it's Alexander the Great. Has 4 really good fixtures, including the double game week in Game Week 37, where he's playing against a very out-of-form Brighton team at home and against a very poor defensive team in Manchester United. So I really like Isak's fixtures from now until the end, and he is on the penalties. The only issue with Isak is minutes. Callum Wilson is an impending threat to his minutes, and there's a chance that Wilson could start one of the games in the double. And we saw what happened with Isak versus Wilson at the end of last season, where Callum Wilson smashed Isak and he won that by a landslide. And honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if that happened again this season, because Wilson has one of the strongest goal and assist ratios per 90 of any player in the Premier League. But I just think Isak is just so informed. I was talking to a couple people over Twitter, and this guy named Will AFC, he mentioned that Isak really reminds him of Thierry Henry. And I think there are just certain players in this league that when you watch them, they pass the eye test with flying colors. Like, Isak glides across the pitch, similar to like what Martin Odegaard and Trent Alexander-Arnold do. You just love to watch players like that, and I think Isak is probably essential. Making the transfer in Game Week 36 or Game Week 37 for a hit will really just come down to the Eberechi Eze news, as well as how risky I want to be, and that'll be determined by how well Son does in the double game week this week that I don't actually know yet. So I'm going to be taking the hit to bring Isak in, whether this week or next week. So why don't I just put him and put the money in that spot? I did have 6.4, so now I only have 3.2 in the bank. And so what am I going to do with the rest of the money? Because I'm looking at the strikers and my midfielders, and I do really like the players that I have, and I really like my keepers as well. I'm looking at Pickford, who has Luton away, Sheffield United at home in Game Week 37. I think that's a very good fixture, and I would bench him in 38 for David Raya, because Raya has a very good fixture playing against Everton at home. I just feel like Everton struggled to score goals, and I think Raya has a very good fixture playing against Bournemouth at home this week, and I want to have some sort of coverage of the Arsenal defense. And I know this is a very difficult fixture against Manchester United away, but it wouldn't surprise me if Arsenal kept it clean. Like, that's how great they've been over the course of the season and how poor Man U are, but they'll probably get something on the counter from like Garnacho or Rashford or maybe even Højlund. So it wouldn't surprise me if Arsenal lose the clean, but I just think Raya's fixtures from 36 to 38, I don't think there is a goalie that will outscore him for a -4. Like, I just trust Raya to do enough. So I think I'm going to be holding on to my keepers, and I think I will just be spending my transfers on some defenders. Unfortunately, there was some news that came out about some of the defenders that I own, so I have to refilm this portion of the video, but I just want to emphasize that I need to be spending my transfers on the 5 defenders that I own. First, I've got James Tarkowski, who plays against Luton away, and Luton is fighting to pick up some points so they can avoid relegation, whereas Everton are now confirmed to not be relegated. So I'd say that Luton probably has something to fight for, whereas Everton can potentially be downing tools. On top of that, Everton do have a very good fixture in the Game Week 37 week, where they play against Sheffield United at home, and Sheffields are already relegated, but because of that, they're actually playing more attacking football than they were before they got relegated. So it's a weird position to own Everton defenders, as well as my Pickford asset that I own, but I just have to trust that Sean Dyche will stay disciplined defensively, and I don't think his team will down tools. Unfortunately, there was some news that came out that Tarkowski is expecting a child, so his wife is pregnant, and there's a chance that he could miss this fixture. And because of that, I just want to make sure that I have 4 playing defenders at least this week, so I don't want to be getting a 0-pointer from one of my defenders. Moving on, my next defender is Dan Burn, who has a Burnley fixture away from home, and he has a double game week in 37. He's nailed for minutes, and I'm just going to be playing him this week. My next defender is going to be Zabani. I mean, his time has come and gone within my team. He's definitely going to be a transfer out. The fixtures are not great at all, and he does not double in 37. So he's a definite transfer out, especially with 6.3 in the bank. My fifth defender is Fabian Schär, and he also has the Burnley fixture away from home this week, but at halftime of the Sheffield fixture last week, he got subbed off with an apparent hamstring injury, and on top of that, I went through the Newcastle training photos and he was not pictured in training. Now, they could just be resting him, but he could also actually be injured. So I'm not sure if I want to spend the transfer on Schär, but what I do know is I can't trust him to start. On top of that, Gusto was also not pictured in training, and I'm not sure if he will return for 37 or what's going on there either. So I do feel like I need to spend at least one transfer, and with the doubt of Tarkowski as well, I think I might just take a hit this week. I think the obvious player to be targeting is going to be a ManCity defender because I only have 2 ManCity assets. And when I look at ManCity's fixtures, I'm hoping they can keep it clean in the Wolves fixture, they can keep it clean in the West Ham fixture, and maybe fluke a clean against Fulham. I'm expecting Spurs to definitely score in this game, but I just think there are 2 ManCity defenders that you can trust in terms of getting some attacking returns, because you don't want to just be focusing on the defensive returns. And it's going to be Kyle Walker, who is the captain of Man City. And I just feel like he is the right pick to go for if you're just worried about minutes. And I think if you're looking to bring on some risk and you're looking for a differential option, I think Joshua Gvardiol could be the pick. He's been picking up, I think, 2 assists and a goal in the last 2 games. And on top of that, he picked up 2 cleans. So Gvardiol has been a very, very solid asset, and we could just be missing the points if we move to him. And honestly, I'm just not sure if he's going to start all the games. Ruben Dias has actually missed the last couple of matches, and that's why Ake's been playing in the center back position and Gvardiol's been playing out wide in the left back position. But once Ruben Dias returns, I could just see Gvardiol starting one game in the double and Ake starting the other. So because of that, I just don't want to go to Gvardiol, and I think I'm just going to be going to Kyle Walker as just like the guy that's, you know, the fastest player in the team. You know, there's no one on Man City's defense that can do what he does. He picked up 2 assists 2 weeks ago, so we know what his attacking threat can be. He's always high and wide. His pace is what, you know, makes him such a strong player, not only from FPL, but in general. So I do think that because he's the captain, he's nailed for minutes, it's just smart to go with Walker. Given the doubt surrounding James Tarkowski, I do think it would be prudent to just take a -4 to make sure that I do have enough playing defenders, especially given the fact that I am going to be using my bench boost in Game Week 37. It's probably going to be a plus EV move given the doubts that I have in my team. So the question is, do I sell one of Gusto or Fabian Schär? Now, honestly, I've actually found out news that Reece James is now in training. I'm not sure if we'll ever get a start, but that just lowers the minutes of Malo Gusto, whereas if Fabian Schär is eventually fit for the double, he would be nailed to start both games. So in my opinion, if I had to sell one of Gusto and Schär, I would probably sell Gusto, and that's why I think my best move is actually to bring in somebody like Pedro Porro this week. And I know that sounds a little bit weird, bring in a defender who plays at Anfield, but I'm looking at Porro's fixtures in the future and they're so good. He has Burnley at home in the double in 37, obviously with Man City, where I'm probably expecting 1 point. And then in the last game of the season, he has Sheffield United. Now, Porro is the most attacking defender apart from Trippier and Trent in FPL. So I just think targeting him with the good fixtures to end the season is probably just going to be a good move. Even though it's a very poor entry point in Game Week 36, I think it's just the best defender to own in FPL. So I think taking the -4, bringing in Pedro Porro is probably not going to work out this week, but at least I'll get myself 1 point, and I'm going to be taking a hit later on to bring in either a defender or a striker to replace Mateta anyway. So I think I just have to prioritize bringing in Pedro Porro, so at least I don't get 0 points from that defender spot if Tarkowski misses out. Hopefully I provided some value to you over the course of this video, and if I did, please just drop a like, comment, and subscribe. It really means the world to me. My goal for this video is to get to 100 views and 10 likes, and I know that doesn't seem like too much to ask for, but just the views on YouTube videos have been so low recently. So if you could just drop a like or a comment, it really just means so much more right now, because the views are low because we're at the end of the season. Most people have already given up, like the interactions are kind of low on YouTube in general for FPL content. So it really does mean the world to me, and I'm wishing you lots of good luck and green arrows from now until the end of the season. See you again soon. Take care. Peace.